8 pontos de vantagem. Halliburton tenta roubar a bola, faz o passe com Siakam! Pascal! Siakam bota alguém, Bridgefield, House abaixo!
살짝 혼란스러워하고 있는 OKC인데요. 수비 할리버튼!
좋습니다! Dominique, you weren't with us when we played these a little earlier. What are your takes on these calls?
You don't need to understand the language to feel the emotion, and that was fun last night, and it's going to get more fun for a Game 7. It's a rough one for Jalen.
Yeah, that's a great play. The calls are phenomenal. I continue to say Mike Breen is as good an announcer as there's ever been, but can he match that kind of energy? And the final thing I will say is I want those guys doing golf. Golf is my favorite sport. I would like to hear that call. Rory McIlroy lining up a little 12-footer left to right, and then that reaction, I think that sounds like a lot of fun. The game is global, it is beautiful, and it was fun last night. We're going to a Game 7, and history favors the Pacers. All right, teams that force the Game 7, down 3-2 and force it, they win the title. They've won the last 3 times. Cavs did it in 2016. Heat did it, shout out UD, after the Ray Allen 3 in Game 6. And the Lakers did it in 2010 over the Celtics. Here was Tyrese Halliburton with his thoughts after a dominant Game 6 win.
Right now, for the next 2 days, everybody's going to be talking about how good we looked, how well we played, how much pressure's on OKC. You know, that's going to be the narrative. And we got to do a good job of staying away from that stuff. You know, I think that can be poison.
We got exactly what we deserved, what we earned, and we have to own that. It's one game for everything you ever dreamed of. If you win it, you get everything. If you lose it, you get nothing. It's that simple.
Now, I don't want to overreact to what is a pretty simple phrase that he just gave there. If you win it, you get everything. If you lose, you get nothing. But it did strike me when I heard him say that in the midst of a week where ring culture has been part of the sports conversation, it was kind of an interesting way to frame it. UD, I mean, you've been a player who've been a part of this sort of thing. Is it absolute, I mean, ecstasy, obviously, and you win if you win, and utter failure for the team that loses on Sunday?
I think definitely. As a player, you have to create that mindset that, you know, like Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you last. I mean, you have to have that mindset that you're playing for a championship, and that's the only thing that matters. Now, in reality, when you look at the OKC team, that team was in a play-in situation a couple years ago. Last year, they lost in the the Western Conference semifinals, and this year they go to the finals. So there has been progression made with that team, but the mindset, what you want to create, the championship culture, you got to act like a champion before you're a champion is something that we like to say. I got that from Riles. That mindset you have to create allows you to tell yourself that that's a failure season. You got to get better, sit a couple days in the dark, think about it, and come back motivated next year.
I totally get it from the player's perspective. But, Neek, you were a player. But now that you step back and you can analyze it, and you've heard all this conversation throughout the week about ring culture, where there is a feeling that if championships are the only things that matter and anything short of that doesn't deserve any credit or praise, what are your thoughts, particularly as we head to a Game 7 here?
I mean, obviously, that's a little bit too extreme, and I think sometimes it feels as if that's the only thing that we measure, but it's actually not. And when we talk about the rings culture, Charles Barkley's name comes up a lot. No one thinks that Scottie Pippen was better than Charles Barkley, despite the fact that Pippen has so many more rings. Like, the other things matter about it, and I think the circumstance and the context matters, because I think in this situation, OKC, obviously, to me, they are statistically the best team in basketball history. So yeah, if they don't win against an underdog like the Pacers, yeah, it's a failure. But for the Pacers, like, they have already succeeded. I know it doesn't feel like that to them, but to make it as far as they've gotten, to force a Game 4 with their best player nursing a calf injury, like, once this season is over, we're going to look back on the Pacers. Maybe they don't feel that way. We're going to look back on the Pacers as having a pretty successful season. In OKC, if they don't win, yeah, it's a failure. You don't get these many opportunities and to be the best team in basketball. And I think it all matters depending on the team and the players and the context. I know Travis Kelce got into this conversation. If you live in the Super Bowl the way the Chiefs have, yeah. If you don't make it to the championship and win the championship, championship, it feels as if you have not had a successful season. If you're a different team, like the Cowboys, let's say, making it to a conference championship game would be amazing for the Cowboys. We would throw a parade.
Keith, you've played in Game 7s. We talked about it this morning, Markeith. How different is it? How different will this game be for all of these players than any game they've ever played in their lives?
It'd be crazy, but first, man, don't disrespect my Cowboys like that, man. I ain't taking the Cowboys slander. Second,
you would be happy if they got to a conference championship.
It was something that you said about.
Go ahead,
It was
Keith.
something that you said about OKC and the accomplishments they have made this year, right? With having the record, having a historic defense. If you fall short of winning the championship with those type of standards, with those type of stats, with those type of accomplishment, it is not a successful year, right? Making it to this point and losing, making it to a Game 7 and losing is not a successful year. And I would like to say this about Indiana because I feel like people are downplaying Indiana a little bit because they didn't see this, right? Indiana still was a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Hollenberg missed 2 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? So for them, it's a down year also if they don't win because they were just there last year, just about to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. They had lost to a good team in Boston. So I know that coming into the season for them, their standards was really high. So it's a disappointing year for both teams if they lose, if you ask me.
It's a great point. As Wendy has repeatedly pointed out, they had the second best record in the NBA starting on January 1st. Of change with the Windman. Give me the things you will have your eye on and we should be following as the offseason begins next week.
So, Greeny, free agency is not that big of a thing this year. There's only a few, difference-making free agents, and there's not much salary cap space. So the bulk of the offseason action is likely going to happen in this next week, in and around next Wednesday and Thursday's draft. So expect to see action and the major roster maneuvering in this period, not so much the first week of July, which is what we were used to. Now, as far as the signings mattering, there is something interesting with signings, but it's going to be about extensions. What players extend their contracts, and what does that mean? If a player extends, great. If he doesn't extend, now we've got a problem. And that's going to start with Luka Doncic. Luka cannot extend right now. He's got to wait until August 2nd or after. But the Lakers need to make sure he gets into a contract, Greeny. It's a vital thing. He has 1 year left after this year. He can opt out next summer. The Lakers don't want to have that happen. They feel pretty good. They have a new owner. They got to get that. They got to get that done, and they have a month to show him that they're going to get their roster in a really good place. Also, Nikola Jokic can sign now. I'm not worried about Nikola Jokic. He's a low drama player. He's got 3 years left on his contract. But right now, the Nuggets don't even have a general manager. They seriously have not named a general manager replacement to Calvin Booth, who they fired 2 months ago. And the draft is next week. Ben Tenzer is their acting general manager. Is Jokic cool with everything that's going on? He'll let everybody know if and when he signs that contract extension. And then this one is really super interesting, Ja Morant. Now, Memphis is in the middle of some level of change. They changed their roster around by trading Desmond Bane last week. Ja Morant has 3 years left on his contract. Again, I am not sitting here saying that this is a referendum on his entire career.